What's up, Taiwan? I'm Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. A coastal city in China is proposing measures to deepen ties with Taiwan, including a bridge linking one of Taiwan's outlying islands to the Chinese coast. But as Reese Ayers reports, Taipei says it has no plans to pursue such projects.
The Chinese city of Xiamen has published a long list of proposals to strengthen cross-strait ties. But Taiwan's government says these projects cannot be pursued by one side alone, and they're currently not on its agenda. The 12 measures include the development of infrastructure connecting Xiamen and Jinmen, a Taiwanese island just a few kilometers off the coast of China. Projects like gas pipes and power links, a new dedicated airport terminal, and construction of a bridge to physically connect China with Jinmen. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles relations with Beijing, says it is aware of Xiamen's proposals and will study their implications, but says cross-strait infrastructure cannot be decided by China alone, and that Taiwan has no plans for such projects. The list of measures also calls for closer economic and cultural exchanges, including streamlined fishing and agricultural regulations and the promotion of youth exchanges and collaboration on creative and digital productions. The new 12 measures come after Beijing announced 10 Taiwan-focused policy incentives following Chinese President Xi Jinping's meeting with Zheng Liwen, chair of Taiwan's main opposition Kuomintang, back in April.
两岸应该进一步的筹划与建构具制度性与可持续性的对话合作机制，使两岸的和平发展走向不可逆转。
At the time, the Mainland Affairs Council warned the measures appeared aimed at promoting unification and could harm Taiwan's industries in the long run by increasing their reliance on the Chinese market. An analyst said Xiamen's proposals this time are attempting to bypass conversations with Taiwan's central government.
国共确实在这个选前试图想用会谈措施来营造出一种两岸统战和谐的假象，来去企图对于台湾民众对于中国的这个认知改变，进而造成选举的冲击跟影响。
For Xiamen and China, the measures are a step toward deeper cross-strait integration. But some in Taiwan remain cautious about Beijing's push for closer exchanges as cross-strait tensions remain high. Patrick Chen and Reese Ayers for TaiwanPlus.
Recent data shows an increased presence of Chinese research vessels in the Pacific. Taipei-based geospatial intelligence company Ingenispace released a video showing an increase in Chinese vessels in those waters between January and August 2026. Separate reports say their activities like seabed mapping, identifying undersea infrastructure, and gathering environmental data could have military applications. Some vessels have entered Palau's waters, raising concerns there. To hear more about the security threats these Chinese research vessels could pose to the region, our reporter Alan Liu spoke with William Chung, a defense analyst at Taiwan's Institute for National Defense and Security Research.
We're seeing Chinese research vessels operating across the Pacific more frequently, especially along the first island chain. So what kind of threats could these activities pose to regional security?
It is all about Beijing's intention in the region and the military and civilian dual usage nature of the information they collected. The second is when China during the peacetime collect all the informations they needed in marine informations, so it will make China more easy to transfer all this marine information into the battlefield. So that will improve China's the capability to deter or complicate the U.S. military intervention in the region's security contingency, not only Taiwan and South China Sea as well. And of course, the third part is now we are quite concerned about the undersea infrastructures, especially the cable.
Chinese research vessels have also in recent months entered Palau's exclusive economic zone without permission. Does this violate any international law?
Enter Palau's EEZ is not itself illegal. For example, if you just simply no, the navigation through the EEZ, that's fine. But if you conduct a marine scientific research, that will need the coastal state consent. If without the consent, that might violate international law.
Taiwan also just launched 2 new research vessels this month. How could Taiwan make the best use of these vessels to strengthen its maritime security?
So it's not the simple scientific platform for the 2 vessels. I think it's more important. Taiwan is intended to build up a broader marine domain awareness systems. It also, I think, more important to turn the better scientific understand or scientific knowledge into a better marine securities. So we need a better and a more comprehensive oceanographic database. That's what correspondent with Taiwan as an ocean state needed.
That was William Chung, an assistant research fellow at INDSR. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang calls robotics the next wave of AI. Now robots are taking center stage at Taiwan's biggest automation show with more than 800 companies exhibiting. The show comes as humanoid robots move closer to mass production. Liao reports.
Dancing robots are catching everyone's attention. The focus of this year's automation exhibition in Taipei is AI robotics. And among the highlights are humanoid robots, already being tested in real-world settings.
我们大型人形机器人主要会用在这个饭店啊、旅宿业者一些导览啊，或是说我们在这个房屋啊，透过这个大语言模型做一些后台的一些串接的处理。那以这个国内的这个产业来说啦，我们目前有跟这个雀客集团的这个永丰站的酒店有做一个 POC 一个场景就是在他们的这个大厅的柜台，然后针对来访的这个访客这个要住宿的一个客人。
The company says the system can operate without staff, connecting to the hotel's back end to handle bookings and payments. Another company designed its robots for more remote inspections. It gives operators a first-hand view through the robot's cameras and the ability to control its hands remotely.
那这个部分呢，它就针对我们目前在做一些巡检的过程中，我们可以当我到了这些地方看到了一些问题的时候，我透过它的双手可以来做处理。那在这上面，我们还搭配了这个一个360度全景的一个摄影机，也就是说我在这个全场的过程中，它可以360度都能看到。
But companies say customers may not be ready to adopt robots just yet. They also need cloud infrastructure and further support to run them. Taiwan's government is putting money behind the push.
一定要有充裕的预算，让业界感受到政府跟大家站在一起、向前力拼的决心。所以在明年度的中央政府总预算，在科技发展的这个项下，我们憋了2293亿，比今年成长12.8%，这是非常高的。
The key question now is how quickly these technologies reach mass production as Taiwan's robotics push tries to move from demonstrations to deployment. Luffy Li and Lily Lamatina for TaiwanPlus.
Chinese tech companies have reportedly received advanced Nvidia chips that were previously under U.S. export restrictions. The Financial Times says Tencent and ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, have each received about 10,000 of the H200 chips. Other companies could also soon get approval for shipments. The report also says Lenovo has told clients they can order products that contain H200s. The U.S. greenlit exports of Nvidia's H200 to China last year, but Beijing only granted some local firms permission to buy them last month. After German scholar Jürgen Krem shared his experience of being followed by an alleged Chinese spy with TaiwanPlus's Zoom In, Zoom Out, his story drew far more public attention than he expected. Now he speaks with Isabel Wong about the reaction and whether his case could raise awareness of the growing challenge of transnational repression.
Your story has gone viral online, your interview with us. What has been the public reaction so far that you've seen?
For me, that shows that people understand that this is not just an individual story. It's not only my story. They see it as a much bigger issue behind it. The issue is how far China is prepared to go to influence, intimidate, or silence people beyond its border. I think there is a growing awareness in Taiwan, and that shows the story, that pressure from China does not stop at Taiwan's border. It can reach into universities, even in the West, into media in Taiwan, abroad, civil societies, and private lives of individuals.
Do you see your experience as part of the broader pattern of transnational repression that not only for Chinese people, but then extended toward people like you or foreigners?
My research, and especially this case, have convinced me that we should look at these activities as a part of a larger system. China has developed intensive intelligence networks and security, and it influences worldwide decisions. That is why I think the term long-arm jurisdiction is important to us.
Do you feel like your experience would increase Chinese people's or like the public reaction toward China's transnational repression?
My hope is that journalists, academics, politicians, ordinary people take approaches from China more seriously, and they understand how far is the Chinese state trying to extend its power beyond Chinese borders. And the question is, what can democratic societies do about it? I think we in the West, and the West includes Japan, South Korea, and of course Taiwan, we need more awareness about this. We have been very blind about Chinese intelligence services and their activities in the Free West. We need transparency, we need to document these cases, and we need to assist people who witnessed this intimidation.
That was Jürgen Krem. For more about Chinese espionage in Taiwan, watch the full episode of Zoom In Zoom Out on the TaiwanPlus News YouTube channel or website. Taichung prosecutors have indicted 4 companies and 15 of their executives for one of Taiwan's biggest ever food safety scandals.
中联公司相关主管明知自巴西进口之特定船批黄豆原料热损粒比例偏高，增加制成中产生苯醃皮之风险，竟心存歹念，罔顾食安，能放宽进料管制标准。福寿、福茂及泰山公司相关主管知悉使用问题油品后，亦未及时停止贩卖。
The indictments follow weeks of investigation to expose a major cover-up of carcinogenic cooking oil leaving production lines. Those indicted could face up to 7 years in prison, millions of US dollars in fines, and confiscation of illegal profits. Food safety officials say they are tightening market checks, while local authorities insist the companies cannot resume operations until they pass strict safety reviews. What exactly happened in this food safety scandal? Irene Lin takes a deep dive into how the incident came to light and what officials are doing to make sure it never happens again.
Angry protesters say they've had enough of toxic cooking oil being allowed to circulate in the market. Led by mayors and lawmakers from the opposition parties, they're calling for the president and the premier to be held accountable for negligence. Since July, authorities have detected 1,300 metric tons of soybean cooking oil on sale in Taiwan containing a Group 1 carcinogen called benzopyrene, or BAP.
那基本上它是在高温的燃烧不完全或者是热裂解的情况之下，它所生成的一个污染物。其实，在我们的环境里面啊，平常的汽车废气啦、二手烟呐、工业上排放的一个废气，或者是有时候是食品的热加工的过程里面，尤其是像这个高温烧烤、油烟、油煎、油炸的这样子的一个部分是比较容易产生的。
Medical experts say there's no need for panic because the human body can break down the toxin, and a small amount is unlikely to cause cancer in an average person.
苯醃皮这东西， 它本身这个化合物它不会致癌，它到我们人体体内后，被我们的肝脏代谢，才变成活性的代谢物。其实我们抽烟也是一级致癌物哦，加工肉品也是一级致癌物，不是一直吃啊，它是一个相对风险的概念。
But even though experts downplay the risk, that hasn't stopped the case from becoming a nationwide scandal. Politicians and protesters say they're angry that they can't trust food safety regulations or the government that's supposed to uphold them. So, how did benzopyrene get into the oil? In early April, a shipment of Brazilian soybeans arrived at the Central Union Oil Corporation's refinery in Taichung. While the company reported no problems with the shipment, a downstream client called Nanqiao sent samples to 2 independent labs for testing. Both labs reported unacceptable levels of BAP, but Nanqiao did not alert Central Union until June. After Central Union sent another sample for testing and failed twice, it finally reported its findings to Taiwan's Food and Drug Administration on June 30th, over 2 months after the soybeans first came in. The FDA ordered a halt to all production the next day and recalled all of Central Union's cooking oil. Its follow-up investigation found multiple discrepancies in import and production standards. Experts working on the investigation said the soybean shipment from Brazil had a high rate of heat damage due to improper drying, something that raises the risk of BAP contamination. Central Union knew about this, but instead of returning the beans, it changed the contract with the Brazilian supplier to allow it.
也许巴西大豆可能价格比较便宜，所以他们觉得说，你这个0.5%会不会说太严格了？那我就把它放宽到5%嘛。那这样以后，巴西大豆万一超过0.5%的话，它还是可以进口啊，都没有问题啊。但是人家美国的大豆就不会有这个问题啊。 一般大豆原料的 BAP 含量，目前国际上是没有规定说你一定要验的。
Chen says even if the raw soybeans have excessive BAP levels, the toxin can be largely eliminated during the refining process, most effectively during decolorization.
除了原来的白土以外，我们另外再加入活性炭，譬如说加入1%的活性炭，那可以让 BAP 去除效果，达到80%。 或是90%，这个都有可能。
While scientists have suggestions to improve the production process, lawmakers are reviewing several proposed changes to tighten regulations. The cabinet's proposal will allow it to form a central task force in a major food safety crisis, and force factories to halt all operations when risks are detected at any point of the supply chain, not just at the retail stage. It would also make producers propose regular testing schedules, either conduct testing themselves or send samples to third-party labs. Companies' own labs must also be officially approved, and problems reported to the health ministry within 24 hours of discovery. But some law experts say these measures are already implied in the existing statutes.
其实我们食安法目前其实该要有的工具其实应该都有。那这次修法，我基本上我觉得还是肯认是真正因为它会把更多的东西能够更细致化。 可以进入业者场所进行现场抽样，我想不是应该本来就是在刚刚我讲那个法律关系之下，他们彼此之间应该可以有的，应该要有的。
After 47 days of investigation, the case is finally coming to an end. Central Union has been fined over $5 million. Prosecutors in Taichung have also detained 15 executives from 4 firms involved in the case, involving Central Union and its 3 investors. But despite these repercussions and the promises for change, the scandal has left a bitter taste in the mouths of many Taiwanese as they prepare to vote in local elections this November. Devin Tsai, John Su, Scott Huang, and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
In central Taiwan, there's a place where saxophones are big business. Though not global giants, local makers handcraft high-end instruments highly prized by musicians. John Van Trieste has more.
There's a corner of Taiwan that's become tightly linked with the sound of the saxophone. For decades, family-run workshops in Houli, Taichung, have been creating handmade instruments. And while the heyday of the industry may be in the past, there is still a future, as even younger family members carry on the old business. The saxophone was, of course, a foreign import to Holy, made popular in the 1940s when a group of locals formed a band. Among them was Dr. Zhang Tinghui, who played saxophone when not practicing medicine. And that may have been where things ended, had it not been for a fire that destroyed Zhang's instrument, a disaster that would become the birth of a business the Zhang family is still in today. The success of that project started a whole local industry as imitators joined in and exports, chiefly of beginner instruments, flowed out. At the industry's peak in the 1980s, there were around 30 saxophone factories in Holy. But times changed. Big producers shifted manufacturing to Southeast Asia, and Chinese-made instruments took over market share. Orders dried up, and today only 4 saxophone factories remain. The survivor's secret, a shift away from cheap instruments for beginners, and a continued commitment to crafting by hand.
所以那个时阵我看菜市咧卖衫，那个是收现金的，直接反映说，我是不是来卖衫吼？所以我跟我先生讲说，你就专心研究你的比较高阶的乐器，家里的整个开销我们就有一个基本的收入，我们就不用担心，整个家庭就度过这个难关。
Today, that handcrafted high-end ethos continues to provide factory workers with a sense of pride, accomplishment, and responsibility.
从一开始都是零件，然后慢慢的看它变成一支乐器这样子。没有细心的话，就会可能，比如有瑕疵，你就会可能没有注意到这样然后就会影响它的美观。
And importantly, that same spirit has won high praise for Holy saxophones from around the world.
将咱台湾的物件提升甲国际比，这才有价值，唔是缀人后壁。我有一摆去我做物件去德国去参访，人帮我去提灯啊，等于讲这台湾咧做的物件，那还好。但囡仔讲的，就是要坚持物件品质。 好，信用度，大家都爱做个搞。
The insistence on craftsmanship doesn't mean resistance to modern technology, though. The original Zhang family factory has embraced AI, adding a multilingual chatbot function to its website, making it easier for customers from around the world to find an instrument that meets their budget and needs. These factories may not have the same name recognition as the big global brands, but saxophone players in the know associate this part of Taiwan with quality. Luffy Li and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
In Japan, cosmetic tattoos are gaining popularity but fall into a legal gray area. In Okinawa, a fight to get them regulated and legalized is on. Yvonne Young has more.
Tattooists are demonstrating scalp micropigmentation, or SMP, at a convention center in Okinawa. It's in open defiance of Japanese law, risking legal consequences. Tattoo artist Remy Brahman, who founded the Japan Tattoo Hygiene Association, says his industry already takes safety seriously.
What we are doing now doesn't hurt. We don't need anesthesia. And we teach how to prevent the spread of diseases such as HIV and hepatitis.
But he says the law hasn't caught up.
Even for something as simple as cutting hair, there are rules in place. But when it comes to tattoos, there are no rules at all. That's strange, right?
Outlawed during the Meiji Restoration as Japan modernized, tattooing was only legalized under the post-war U.S. occupation, but then left largely unregulated. It was not until 2020 that Japan's Supreme Court took action. It ruled that decorative tattooing does not have to be performed by doctors, but the same did not apply to SMP and permanent makeup, leaving artists stranded in a legal gray area.
It's only Japan, right? All over the world, permanent makeup is applied by beauty professionals. I wonder why Japan is the exception. It makes customers feel as though they are doing something wrong.
Japan's tattoo stigma runs deep. Lingering ties to criminals and outcasts are hard to shake. People are still not allowed to show ink in many public places. Attitudes are changing, but slowly.
Nowadays, a lot of people have tattoos simply as something fashionable. But in the past, there were also tattoos of a different kind. And today's tattoos are still viewed in the same way. That's why that negative image is so difficult to get rid of.
A Japanese health official says that SMP has an established history of doctors' involvement. As recently as December, the health ministry warned that unlicensed practitioners could face criminal complaints and even arrest.
I think Japan is quite strict, really, especially for me, being from Okinawa. I've been exposed to it since I was little, so I think attitudes could be a little more open.
So the fight is on in Okinawa, once its own kingdom, and no stranger to pushing back against rules set by Tokyo. Alex Chen, Ted Chen, and Yvonne Yang for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave you with images of cyclists racing through the mountains at a bike festival in Switzerland. I'm Liao. Take care and see you next time.